اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحار، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبتني عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاركم مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله، في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم العن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم العن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم العنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمران وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى اللهم على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد والثناء لرب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب قلوبنا وشفيء ذنوبنا، أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Inshallah, tonight we will continue the topic that was started on Thursday night in respect to the martyrdom of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, some of the advice and things that he did in his last days, which there's a lot to draw from and for us to take from that. And we highlighted some of the overarching themes of things that the Prophet emphasized in general, things like the importance of prayer, not taking prayers lightly, the importance of asking for forgiveness for our sins, for our mistakes, for our shortcomings, and obviously the importance of haqqun nas. And we began talking about this as well. So let's pick up on where we left off, and in terms of this discussion, let's talk more about haqqun nas, the rights of others. As we mentioned, you won't be asked about your rights on the Day of Judgment. In the grave, you won't be asked about your rights, meaning how others should have treated you, what things others should have done for you. You will be asked about your responsibilities and how you treated others, and if you observe their rights or not. So why this is important is because almost instinctively, a lot of times our go-to is to be concerned about how we are being treated, and not so much necessarily about how well we are treating others. Okay? And this, one of the times that this really comes to light is in marriage conflicts. And the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, there's no foundation more loved than marriage itself. And so there's a great importance to marriage. And I'm sure that you have heard that marriage is nisfuddin, or half of your faith. And sometimes there's a misunderstanding about that. Marriage itself, meaning aqd, is not half of faith. Marriage, in terms of maintaining and being successful, that is half of faith. Otherwise, the concept of simply reciting nikah, or having the marriage formula recited, having a wedding ceremony, for example, this is not half of anyone's faith. This isn't an accomplishment. This is nothing special. You sat down, recited the aqd, you recited it yourself, or someone recited it for you. You became married through through those words, but that isn't in and of itself alone. That's not a huge accomplishment. The accomplishment is in when a person after marriage is successful. Why? Because that's when the test comes. The test of a person's patience, the test of a person's work, or then observing the haqqun nas of your spouse that you live with, someone who has many haqq and huquq, many rights over you. That's the time when doing that successfully, that is what is Nasfuddin. So if a person in their lifetime is able to maintain that balance of their kindness and observing the rights of others and all of these different aspects of compassion and overlooking faults and forgiveness, and if they're able to do that, then yes, that's Nasfuddin. That's half of religion itself. Half of intellect, just how we deal with people, right? The modara, the means to be amicable when dealing with people. But if we fail, then what value was the nikah if throughout the whole marriage people were angry and tormenting each other for a few decades? So one of the times when you really see how much people have understood the concept of giving importance to responsibilities that they have over the rights that they believe that they are deserved is in marriage counseling. A couple will come, and unfortunately, whenever people come for counseling, 90% of the time it's already too late. We have to get out of this habit of seeking help at the 11th hour, you know, and in Farsi they say daqiqa navad, you know, the 90th minute, you know, like at the very end of a soccer match. At the very last minute, that's the time in the fourth quarter. That's the time that we want to, okay, now let's see how to fix things. We see the same thing, you know, when people have problems, you know, with their children. And they wait until it's too late, until the issue is far advanced. And then they want to call the Sheikh to sprinkle the, you know, the magic dust that we keep inside of our abba, the magic miracle dust that they can sprinkle on children to make them behave and become super mu'mins. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, let's try to, as a side note, let's be proactive and not reactive when it comes to solving the issues of dealing with others. And it's no shame. It's no shame if a person is having a difficulty with their spouse, with their child, with their sibling, with their relatives, with a business partner. There is no shame in seeking out good Islamic counsel. There's no shame in that, and there's no reason to delay that. You know, if you're bumping heads and not able to come to some kind of reconciliation, then seek that help. That is what the ulama are there to do, that, to help in this capacity. When people come for marriage counseling, as an example, and if I ask the husband, you know, what the problems are, he'll go on and on and on. Usually, probably could write volumes about the things that his wife is doing wrong and all of his rights that are being infringed upon. And the same may go if I ask the wife, what do you see as this? She can go on and on about all the things that she feels are wrongs and injustices and deficiencies, volumes of that. And so sometimes I like to do an exercise where in some cases I'll ask a couple like that, can you just, you know, here's some paper, some notepads. I want you to write down the problems of your marriage, but only what you contributed to, right? Only write down what you yourself may have done wrong. You should see, it's amazing how people just get stalled like a uh, old automobile engine. They just stall and get stuck, as if it's so hard to consider what they might have done. But Islam puts a lot of emphasis on accountability, right? You have some responsibilities. Have you done them? And sometimes even people, they get slick. They want to try to pull a fast one, as they say. And so they'll say something like, well, I didn't do XYZ because this person did such and such a thing. So they still want to outsource their responsibility. They still want to defer and deflect that accountability. And that's part of the major part of the problem. Why we can't recognize haqqun nas is because we're not looking at our responsibility to observe the haqq and rights of others. We're looking just at how should we be treated. It's a very vain worldview and perspective to have, actually. And that couple, when they have to write about just the things that they did, you know, sometimes, I've seen they look at each other and just start laughing like, this is not what we had in mind. You want me to talk about what I did wrong? The things that I did, and if they start to reflect, and I can't write anything about the other person, I can only write about my own things, the things that I will be asked about. Sometimes it's a challenge. And so we have so much emphasis in Islam, obviously, about that kind of self-awareness. So haqqun nas is not a small thing. It's a very big deal, and Islam has put a great amount of emphasis on it. One of the things that happened in the last days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that he asked for the to gather the people so that he could speak. And when he gave his talk or his speech, he asked anyone if they had any claim against him. Anybody who's haqqun nas that the Prophet of Allah himself had infringed upon. Any right that the Prophet had that he had infringed upon others. And the people there, they're, obviously they're saying, no, of course not. What can we say? What we owe everything to Rasulullah. All of our salvation we owe to him. All the things that he's done for our ummah. And then finally, there was one man. The Prophet asked the second time. He asked a third time, apparently. And one person stands up and says, raises their hand and says, one time we were in a battle. And he goes on to explain that while we were waiting, the Prophet was on his camel or on his horse, and whatever he used to cause, the animal, the steed, to kind of move forward, that hit the leg of this individual. And this individual was saying that, the Prophet, with that little whip that he used to guide the animal, it hit my leg. And so he had a claim against the Prophet in this way. And the Prophet didn't say, oh, that's nothing. That was just an accident, and just disregard it. He wanted to take responsibility even for something like that. He said, Hazrat Bilal, go to my daughter's home and get that whip him. This man can have justice in this world, in the dunya, not have any claim against me. Now, if something happens by accident, then and oftentimes there's not any true accountability, but even to remove any gray areas, any ambiguity, any kind of area where there might be some misunderstanding where someone can claim that the Prophet of God, peace be upon him, took away their rights, the Prophet of Allah wanted to make sure that that wasn't the case and that justice had been established in the utmost form. So Hazrat Fatima is saying, what does he want with this? What does he need with the whip? And Bilal explains to her. And of course, she's saying that this person really want to hit the Prophet of God in this way, just to get his so-called right? And when they get back, Bilal reaches there and he hands over the whip. The man says to the Prophet that no, it wasn't just like this, like that you hit just on my leg. It was that you hit on the skin of my leg, not on the pants of my leg. So the Prophet of Allah had to expose some of his leg, just enough so that he could hit the actual skin. He didn't want there to be any injustice in any level. And ultimately, this man, there were people who were crying and weeping and saying, this isn't right. Don't, not do this against the Prophet of Allah. Imam Hussayn and Imam Hussayn are saying, if you have any claim against the Prophet, then, take it out on us. And ultimately, the man, he didn't go through with this claim. He said that he doesn't want to do it. And the Prophet is asking him to be clear. Are you saying that you no longer have any claim against me? And he's saying, for the hope of forgiveness on the day of judgment, then I forgive, any claim that I had against you, Ya Rasulullah. The Prophet refers to the man as saying, this is one of my friends on the day of judgment. SubhanAllah, it's what a place to be with this is an old man, where you become recognized as being a friend of Rasulullah on the day of judgment. No higher station than that. The Prophet of Allah was willing to go through not to have the slightest amount of debt upon him by having done even an injustice by a mistake, even anything that might have been slightly that someone felt wrong, that they had been wronged. So hence the emphasis on why the Prophet emphasized to people, take haqqun nas very seriously. When is the time to take haqqun nas seriously? Now is the time. Right now. Not waiting until we have left this world, not waiting until, we are in our graves. That's when it's too late. The time right now is the time to fix and mend and make right the problems, the wrongs, the issues, any injustices. One of the things that happens a lot of times is that time, when it elapses, the details get murky. People don't even remember something that they felt someone had wronged them, who did what was exactly said, what was exactly done. In so many cases, that's what happens. They maintain a grudge, or their anger, animosity, or their relationships have fallen apart because of someone feeling that they have been wrong. Their haqqun nas has been taken away from them. Some injustice has happened to them. And then after many years, people don't even remember exactly what the details are. The memories are foggy. So much has transpired. It takes and is necessary. What gave this man virtue was his willingness, this old man, to say that I don't want to maintain my claim. I want to forgive. It was a mistake. I want to let that go. His forgiving nature, or his is what gave him this station of being one of the friends of Rasulullah on the Day of Judgment. Man la yarham la yurham. The person who does not show mercy, he does not receive mercy from Allah. So how is it that we find a way that our hearts can be so hard, so rigid, so tough, so unforgiving? I have seen mu'mineen not talk to each other for a decade, for longer. If you try to find out what happened, nobody even really remembers. Allahu Akbar. The one thing that is our shred of humanity is in reflecting those excellent divine attributes. And one of them is mercy. No, we cannot be merciful and arhamur rahimin as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. That's not possible. It's not feasible for us. But within our own capacity, there is so much that we can let go of. There is so much that we can forgive. It says in the last days, the Prophet used to say, Allahumma ghfirli warhamni walhiqni birrafiq. Oh Allah, forgive me and have mercy upon me and join me with my intimate friend, with Allah Himself. Only the Prophet would be has such a clean slate in his a'mal and actions and deeds of this world that he can be excited and anticipating of the moment of joining with Allah. Many of us have to be worried about that moment. And seeking forgiveness, this example that the Prophet is setting for us again in his last days, is not because of him doing injustices or wrongs, transgressions against God. In that manner, it's more than anything a dars for all of us to take haqqun nas seriously, to take forgiving others seriously, desiring the rahmat of Allah and wanting to be forgiven, wanting to go into Jannatul Firdaus and wanting to be in the highest level of heavens and all of these things. Wanting that shafa'ah and that intercession on the day of judgment. This is all the mercy of Allah. Should we really think that we deserve all of this grand mercy from Allah when we ourselves are not willing to even forgive another human being in this short transient life? No. Haqqun nas is observing haqqun nas. It's one of the most significant examples of what it means to be a believer. What does taqwa look like? Because you have so many people who they were so good on a superficial level. I've talked a lot about superficial goodness, superficial status, superficial virtues, and because we get consumed with them. There are people who in the masjid, they're the most eloquent. They recite the best, they talk the best, they do this so well, they're so kind, they're giving in charity. Everyone else who knows them to be basically the prince of taqwa themselves. But when they go home, they're an angry, vicious tongued, hurtful, bad-tempered individual that yells at their wife, that yells at his children, that has contempt for everything that's done in the home. This person is not a person of real piety. They're taking away haqqun nas in their own home, but think that by going outside and being loved by the masses that they have done something value. And the same goes the other way. With sisters, the sister is known in the community. She's so helpful. She does this activity, that activity, this website, that teaching, this education, this, that. The list of things which she does is so long. It's so incredible. Everyone praises. And she goes home and is just rude to her husband, dismissive, disrespectful. That haqqun nas, again, not being observed. And there are thousands of examples of this. We're just giving some basic ideas of what it looks like when in one place, haqqun nas, essentially in one place, there's zulm happening, and in another area and place, people are doing justice to the rest of humanity. That's still injustice that they are doing overall. Right? The Prophet took these things very seriously. In the last days of Rasulullah, he had some money. He received some money, some dinars. And he wanted to put these aside to, deal with them. But he became restless. He had given it to one of his wives to hold like an amana. But he became restless that I don't want to even wait. I want to make sure I deal with this as soon as possible. I don't want to put off distributing this. A sadaqah, a charity, I don't even want to put that off. And so that's very different from many of us who, when it comes to what we owe to people, whether that's money or financial or any other kind of debt, we sometimes are very lax about observing that right. And that is a kind of injustice. He wanted to fulfill his obligations, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at all costs. So he told that wife to bring him those dinars. He divided the 5 dinars. He divided 5 dinars amongst 5 families of the Ansar. After that, he said, Alan astarahat. Now I can rest. I have a sense of cleared my responsibility or my conscience in terms of that. How many of us hoard our wealth? You could ask people for funding, and they'll say they don't have money. What they mean is not that they don't actually have money, but sometimes what they mean is they don't have money, parentheses, to give to you, to give to this cause. They have money for something else or for some other reason, or holding on to it for whatever the case is. And I think about how this relates to one of the major responsibilities of believers, and that is in their paying their khums. I've heard people say things like, I'm holding on to my khums. I'm not sure who I want to give it to, and I'm not sure what I want done with it. A lot of these things are not your choice or your responsibility. Actually, if a person has $1 million or however much money in their account, and they have not paid their khums, then that money in reality doesn't fully belong to them. They don't have actual ownership in that case. They need to pay what is owed. The Prophet didn't want to leave those stones unturned. On one of the other days, in the last days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says that he was rushing home. And some people said, why the rush? Oh, Prophet of God, what's the deal? And he had some gold, and he did not want to go to sleep until he had redistributed that. He wanted to make sure that he had given it to those who he needed to give it to, and he did not want it to get late and to sleep without doing that. He wouldn't sleep comfortably. One of the, a lot of times we don't really recognize certain things as being a barakat and a blessing. For example, regret. The feeling of regret, the feeling of shame. These are feelings which are not great feelings, or they're not those feel-good moments in a person's life, but they are they can be very important motivating factors. A person's moment when they feel shame or regret, that may be the time that they turn the tide, that they change. Maybe they're going down a wrong path and they feel bad about it, and then they can come back and they can fix what they have done. But if we get to a point where the regret is no more, the shame is no more, and we sleep soundly, snoring hard, and sleeping in, sleeping late, the best sleep we ever had because our conscience is so clouded, that's a very sad time for a believer, because the motivating factor, the thing which can cause ta'ghir and tahawul, that is, it says that the qalb, the heart, is the center of these transformations that happen within a person. So when their center part of their being and their heart and their essence becomes so foul and corrupted that they don't see any benefit in any transformation, that is a time that essentially they have died in this world. Their belief has died. So it's good if we get motivated, if we listen to a lecture, if we read something in the Quran and we get something moves us to make amends, to make change, that's a very good thing. That's a very positive thing. We don't want to get to the point where we feel so rested and relaxed in this world that we don't have a care, that we're not concerned about our responsibilities, that we have forgotten about accountability. I want to reflect on how the moment of leaving this world is a very difficult moment for many people, not just the person who is leaving this world, but especially their kin their family, their near ones, their friends, their loved ones. And knowing about that moment is a very sad and difficult moment. Um, but at the same time, there is a sense of, for a believer, there has to be a sense of submission to Allah's command. And there has to be uh, a sense of understanding the transient nature of this world. When we lose someone that's dear to us, it is not the end. This is the small portion of the big picture. This is the microscopic portion of it. It's an important part, and what we do matters in this world. It dictates so much about where we're going in the next world. But knowing that we will be reunited with those loved ones, that is one of the moments of uh, where it gives a believer that balance. And we can see that in Hazrat Fatima salamullah alayha, where the daughter of the Prophet was so close to her father that it was very hard on her to lose her father and to know that he was leaving this world. And as you know, the famous tradition where she's sad about him leaving and that separation, at least even temporarily in this world happening, she also became happy when the Prophet said that she would be the first to join him. And it won't be a very long time before she and her father are reunited. You know, reflecting upon, the martyrdoms of the Prophet, Imam Rada alayhi salam, and Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. All granted, there are some varying riwayat on some of these occasions, but nonetheless, to the point of comprehending them and focusing on the reality of the lessons we can learn from them, um, it has been definitely very wholesome in terms of reflection for any believer, I imagine, and certainly for myself. About a few weeks ago, my mother, may Allah have mercy on her soul, Sister Aisha al-Mekki, she passed away, and she left this world. Rahmatullah alayha. May Allah have mercy on her soul. And it reminded me of how, in those moments that we lose someone, some important dars that we can take ourselves as individuals. The Prophet of Allah, when he left this world, those last days when he was sick, when he knew that his time was coming, it was a moment of test, but it was also a moment of opportunity, right? And there were opportunities for people to connect and reconnect, or ask the Prophet things, to write down things that he wanted written down. There were opportunities in having those moments, of those last moments when they're known. And sometimes when death comes, it is at Allah's will. It may be something that happens very swiftly, and a person is in this world and then the next moment they are not. And maybe something that happens gradually, where they are aware that perhaps in the next days or weeks or months, even, that their last days are coming. These are important opportunities. Yes, they are tests, but every test is an important opportunity, right? And when in my mother's last, days when she became very ill, um, there was several months where she was still very coherent, where tons of people came to visit, lots of very important conversations were had. All of her children and family and near ones had opportunities to reconnect and have important conversations and share kind words. Yes, there was a test in the illness, but it was also an opportunity. You know, when they say about see the glass half full, that's the mu'min's life perspective. It has to be that no matter the tragedy, we see the positive in it. We see the tragedy of Karbala, but we also see that there is no place more visited and loved on the planet Earth. We see that there is no one more remembered all across the globe. That is that is something to love. Sometimes there are missed opportunities where the ummah of Rasulullah, some of them missed the opportunity to bind together, to follow exactly his will. We have to see the opportunities that Allah places before us. And I want to make sure I dedicate and share any thawab that comes from these series of majalis with that all of the credit is obviously due to Allah, the Ahl al-Bayt, the Imam of our time, Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajum al-Sharif, peace be upon all of them, and definitely to my mother and to my parents whose efforts and sacrifices enabled me to be having this discussion with you today. My mother was someone who came from a Christian and a Catholic upbringing, and whose entire life, the most important thing to her was justice and fighting against oppression. I looked at my WhatsApp conversations with my mom from the last couple of years, and I looked at how much, hundreds of times it seems, we talked about justice. She talked about what injustice is happening to people, what is happening. Even as she was in her uh, 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 lying in bed in her last days, she was concerned about what is happening to oppressed people. What are the injustices happening? The police brutality that's happening. What's going to happen to all of these young people? What are the Muslims doing about it? How are we fighting against oppression? She came to Islam because Islam had justice. It offered us solutions that were fair to everyone in the world. She joined the Black Panther Party because they were a group that was looking for justice and fighting against oppressions that were happening, especially against African Americans. She went to Iran when all the people at the gates were, not all, a lot, where enough people were fleeing Iran when the revolution happened. She was going to Iran. Not because she knew Farsi, because there's a revolutionary presence seeking justice, speaking against oppression. I want to go there and learn more. Imam Hussayn alayhi salam was a revolutionary fighting against injustice, and there is knowledge about him. I want to go to that city, to Qom. Even when she was older, at 50 years of age or so, she was studying in the Hawza. She was an alima. 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 All of the people who were, a lot of the international students, definitely all of the Western students, those from America, a lot of them from Canada, they all saw her as a mother figure to them. Many of them are scholars and ulama right now. At her funeral, hundreds of people were there. I mean, we're living during COVID time, and the maximum amount of people that could be there in the hundreds were there. People sent condolences from Maraja all over the world, from Australia, from the UK, people that had known her or known what she stood for, or some of the initiative that she had taken, some of the work that she'd done, and some of the people who had learned about Ahl al Bayt or Islam through her. So, what I want to say is that all of what she did became this sadaqah jariyah. This majlis is also a sadaqah jariyah. And we have to think about the good that we do when we are in this world. أفضل العبادة الإخلاص. The greatest form of worship is sincerity. How does that transcend into a bountiful amount of blessings that continue and continue and continue in so many different ways? You know, we definitely find those moments where we have that true ikhlas, whether it's the night of Qadr, whether it's the night of Ashura, whether it's a sincere moment, a near-death experience, the loss of of someone close to us, an illness, an affliction, something that happens to us. We get those moments where we have those moments of clarity, spiritual clarity, and we seem to understand what's important. We're at our spiritual peak as a believer. The only problem is what happens the next day, the next month, and later on. We need to find a way to harness, to bottle up, to hold on to that powerful sense of rohaniya and nearness to Allah. And we need to dispense and utilize it over a continuous course of our lives. Yes, there is a tremendous amount of value in the tear you shed on the day of Ashura, in the prayer you made on the night of Qadr, the sincere condolences you gave to your Muslim brother or sister when they lost a loved one or near one. But what would make the Prophet, what would make God most happy is if we can take that spiritual energy and harness it and continuously maintain it throughout the rest of the year. As much as I value all of the majalis that we have on these special munasabat and occasions, that is not a substitute for those other days and nights of the year that don't have a specific munasabah, that don't have a specific occasion. It's not a substitute to lack on those times. Maintaining a mizan of spiritual balance is one of the most important necessities for our continuous growth. We have this kind of spiky spiritual peaks where it's like, those machines where it pops up and then it goes back down. It goes up, goes back down. So we have those special occasions where we feel really inclined. And then we have some low moments or not as pronounced moments throughout the rest of the year. we have to learn to maintain that balance. And that haqqun nas that the Prophet spoke about, that mercy and forgiveness that the Prophet spoke about. Don't wait till you're ill, till you're on your last moments, or till just on the night of Qadr, or just on these special occasions. Do that every single day of your life. And those people who, tomorrow you may lose them, instead of giving them flowers on their grave, give them their flowers while they are alive. Show them the kindness today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq and the success to comprehend the beauty and essence of this beautiful religion of Islam, and to walk and live upon the straight path as the A'wan and the Ansar and the helpers and supporters of the Imam of the age, Imam Mahdi, Ajjalullah Ta'ala Farajahum al-Sharif. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm Zainab. All my life I lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussayn. I'm Zainab. All my life I lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussayn. I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go, all follows. I am the mother of sorrows. Wherever I go, all follows. I'm Zainab. All my life I lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussayn. I'm Zainab. All my life I lived in pain. I'm Zainab. I died when I lost Hussayn. Zainab is in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussayn? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussayn? Oh my Hussayn, 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 oh my Hussayn. After the bloodshed and after the wars, after her sons would lay cut up in thirst, after they dragged her without all her clothes, 4 months in a prison her husband now knows. Oh my dear wife, you were so young, your hair is now white. Husband of mine, your Zainab has seen the worst day in sight. We are the Prophet's own family and blood, the ship of salvation when lost in the flood. Our doorsteps were known by you beggars the most. Is this how you treat us, the heavenly host? If you will leave and want to do wrong, then we are the ones. Leave us till death, but Hassan and he are Prophet's own sons. Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussayn? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussayn? Oh my Hussayn, 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 oh my Hussayn. Out of the tents came the son of Hussayn, who looked like the Prophet and bore Ali's name. He fought off the throngs with a Hashemi sword, defending his mother, his father, his lord. The youth was brought down, the truth was brought down, and falsehood fulfilled. And from afar it looked like to us the prophet was killed. Here is Hussayn with an infant in arm. The hand of a father protect him from harm, from thirst and from hunger, from cold and from heat. He lays down his baby by enemies' feet. This is my son, please for a child's thirst have respect. How can I say the arrow that pierced your white baby's neck? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussayn? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussayn? Oh my Hussayn, 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 oh my Hussayn. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Leave me there, take me to Karbala. Leave me there, take me to Karbala. Leave me there, take me to Karbala. Leave me there, leave me there. Hussayn, oh, Hussayn, oh, Hussayn, oh, Hussayn, oh. نادى علي يا مظهر العجائب، نادى علي يا مظهر العجائب، تجده عونا لك في النوائب. كل هم وغم سينجلي، كل هم وغم سينجلي بعظمتك يا الله، بعظمتك يا الله، بنبوتك يا محمد، بنبوتك يا محمد، بولايتك علي 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 علي. زينب 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 يا زينب.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله، الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله، الصلاة والسلام على المصطفى الأمجد، الصلاة والسلام على حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد ورحمة الله وبركاته. الصلاة والسلام على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على البضعة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على الحسن المجتبى الولي الناصح الأمين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا، لا سيما سيدي ومولاي أبي الفضل العباس وأخته زينب. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى جدك وأبيك، وعلى أمك وأخيك، وعلى التسعة المعصومين من بنيك، لا سيما مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان، عجل الله فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره، والمستشهدين بين يديه في جملة أوليائه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى اللهم على محمد وآل محمد الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم